My wife sat me down about 5 days ago and wanted a divorce. After we talked for a bit, she said that she was going to go to a friend's house to clear her head and get her thoughts straight. She kept her Snapchat location on, so I know for sure that she's actually with one of her friends and not cheating. Well, last night, the night before she was supposed to come back to talk again about her decision, we called and she said she full stop wanted a divorce. She says she is currently unhappy and has tried different psychiatrists, different medications, and is currently just started DBT, so she thinks the relationship is the cause of her unhappiness. This is compounded by her therapist. I guess for the last 2 years, she's never said anything negative about the relationship to her therapist. A few weeks back, I guess, she started mentioning problems she has with the relationship, like the last 6 years worth of problems. My wife also has this problem where she manic spends. It usually happens at the beginning of the year for some reason, but this time in January, she spent thousands in cash, $5,000 in pay loans, and maxed out all her credit cards. Her therapist put a thought in her head that the manic spending is due to our relationship. For reference, our finances are pretty poor. We have a lot of debt, so not a lot of free spending money. These are the reasons I seem to glean for the divorce. However, it seems to change every time we talk, especially after I address each of the reasons. Our relationship has gotten really better recently, and at least from my perspective, it seems like we are in an upswing part of the relationship. I have asked her recently whether she was happy or not, last 6-8 months, and besides problems with her medications, she's told me she's been happy. For reference, her current medications are causing major sleep issues. Last night while talking, she seemed to change her mind about the reasons for divorce mid-conversation and just said that she does want to be with me, after insisting she loves me and wants to be with me. So that's a bit confusing. She said that this is her final decision and she will not change from it. We talked about going to couples therapy beginning in March. We've also talked about other things to help improve our relationship, but she still wants to end it all. Some added context here. We both work full-time. I work full-time in office. She works 3 days at home and 2 days at work. Slightly less than 40 PSREs. She does the majority of the housework. I do what I can, but I'm heavily disabled from the military. We have no kids. We've been married for 6 together, for 7. Our anniversary was exactly a week ago. After she does the manic spending, she likes to do this thing where she tells me to just divorce her because I'd be better off without her. She likes to insist that, and I always refute it. That's why I'm kind of wondering if she's just trying to divorce me for my sake, given her reasons keep changing. Anyways, this is what I can think of now after another restless night of sleep. We meet again in a few hours to talk it out where I want to try and get us in couples therapy. Is there anything I can do to save this marriage? I love her more than anything in this world. Update 1. She came over to grab some stuff and talk it out. We had a very productive talk. Turns out she misconstrued what I had said a few days back and initially thought I wasn't amenable to a separation. Our current plan is we will legally separate. She will live elsewhere for now. We will be going through couples therapy and try to work it out. During this period, we will be dating each other to try and see if we can replicate what we had when we started the relationship. After reading a lot of the comments, I feel as if I have no idea what her mental issue is. Her last psychiatrist said she had bipolar and gave her 7 different medications, 3 being mood stabilizers and 2 being antipsychotics. She cold turkeyed all of those when she started having bad side effects, and the psychiatrist upped her dosage instead of decreased. Her new psychiatrist tested her, and after the manic spending, thinks that she has BPD because she typically has mood swings throughout the day, rather than long-standing ups and downs. I really appreciate all the comments and advice. I will be continuing to respond to the comments, and will update as things happen. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She is doing you a favor. She makes poor financial decisions and then gaslights you to make herself feel better. The longer you wait to pull off the Band-Aid, the worse it will get. Proceed with the divorce and start over. There are plenty of other potential partners that will work to improve your lives and not continually fall into the same trap and blame you for it. her therapist isn't helping either. I would guess this is probably her third or fourth therapist at this point. She's probably canned a few that haven't fed into her delusion. It's common with the personality issues she has. Comment 2, it's pretty rare to end up long-term with a person you started dating in your teens or early 20s. And she's got a lot of mental health issues that are not even close to being well managed. She's ruining you financially. You can love someone very much, but love is not enough. You would be much better off if you could focus on yourself for a little while here and get back on your feet. Nothing you're doing is causing her borderline personality disorder, BPD. Nothing you're doing is causing her to max out credit cards. And as such, nothing you can do will cause this situation to improve. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support and advice on my last post. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, but I wanted to give you all an update on what's been happening over the past 3 days. So, after our last conversation, my wife and I decided to go through with the legal separation and start couples therapy. It's been a tough decision, but we both agreed it was the best step forward. We've had our first session, and it was intense. We dug into issues we've been avoiding for years, and it was both painful and enlightening. One of the biggest bombshells dropped during therapy was when my wife admitted that her manic spending wasn't just a random occurrence. She confessed that she often felt neglected when I was away on military duty, and the spending was a way to fill the void. This hit me hard because I never realized the depth of her loneliness during those times. It made me see how much my absence affected her. Even though I was serving our country, we also talked about her mental health struggles. I learned that her new psychiatrist believes the BPD diagnosis fits better than bipolar because of her rapid mood swings. It's been a learning curve for both of us, trying to understand how BPD affects her and our relationship. The therapist suggested that my wife's fear of abandonment might be causing her to push for a divorce as a way to protect herself from being left first. During these past few days, we've been dating each other again, and it's been surprisingly refreshing. We went to the place where we had our first date, and it was like a flood of happy memories came rushing back. We laughed, shared stories, and for a moment it felt like we were that young couple in love again. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. There was a moment when we almost had a huge fight because I found out she had been talking to her friend about our issues. I felt betrayed that she was sharing our private matters, but she explained that she needed someone to vent to. We managed to talk it through without it blowing up, and I'm learning to understand her need for a support system outside of our marriage. The therapist has been great in helping us navigate these rough waters. She's given us homework to do, like writing down our feelings and fears, and it's been eye-opening to read what my wife writes. It's like I'm seeing into her soul, and it's both beautiful and heartbreaking. One of the most jaw-dropping moments came when my wife revealed that she had been secretly saving money to pay off some of the debt from her manic spending. She wanted to surprise me and show that she was taking responsibility for her actions. I was floored by her gesture, and it made me realize how much she's trying to make things right. We've also been working on our communication. The therapist pointed out that we often talk at each other instead of to each other. We're practicing active listening, and it's making a huge difference. We're having deeper, more meaningful conversations, and it's bringing us closer. I've been doing my best to help around the house more, despite my disability. I want to show my wife that I'm committed to making this work and that I'm here for her. It's not easy, but seeing the smile on her face when I managed to do something I couldn't before is worth all the effort. As for her sleep issues, we've created a new nighttime routine that seems to be helping. We turn off all screens an hour before bed, and we spend that time talking or reading together. It's become a special part of our day, and I can see that she's sleeping better. We're taking it one day at a time, but I'm hopeful. Our next therapy session is in a few days, and I'm actually looking forward to it. We've got a long road ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're on the right path. My second abortion leaves me alone and in pain. While boyfriend parties and flirts with another girl, but when I confront him, he admits it, and now I'm healing and unsure about us. A few months ago, I got pregnant with my boyfriend for the second time in a 3-month span. I'm young and not ready or able to have a child right now, so I had to undergo a second baby unaliving as a result. The night I was going to take the pill was also the night of my boyfriend's best friend's birthday party. I was uninvited to this party as his friends had turned against me after a night my boyfriend had gotten together with them while we were arguing. They accused me of false things and talked badly about me. As a result, they decided I was no good for him, didn't support him, and I wasn't welcome at the party. Not that I could have gone anyways, since I had to have my baby unaliving done on the weekend, so I didn't miss any work. My boyfriend still went to the party that night, even though I pleaded with him to stay home just this time and explained to them, and hopefully his friends will understand. He thought it was just wrong for him to miss it and said he won't stay too late. He left. I took my pill, and within 1 hour, I was bleeding and cramps beyond relief. I was crying and wincing in pain, passing massive clots of blood. I was texting him, keeping him updated, and he would update me. It was getting late, and I called him to head home, and he made me feel super guilty. He said his friends were bitching at him for leaving early, etc. He ended up leaving at like 11:30 p.m. and was home just after midnight. A couple of days later, his friends messaged him, saying the sister of his best friend's girlfriend had mentioned that my boyfriend made her feel uncomfortable and was hitting on her. His friends were initially upset, like keep it out of the family, flirt with anyone else. He acted totally confused and said he didn't do anything, that this girl is crazy. He blamed it on the girl's history of drug use and said she's not mentally stable and made it all up. I never talked to this girl or even the friends who were also at the party and must have observed something. I reached out to the girl and she ignored my message. I'm completely torn and don't know what to believe. It feels wrong to think this accusation was a complete delusion and had no basis. What hurts me the most is knowing something went on that night that crossed a boundary between the girl and our relationships. All the while he made me feel guilty for wanting him to stay home. All the while I was dying in pain alone. He knows how I feel about it, but doesn't really seem remorseful or even take any accountability. He says he didn't flirt or cheat, but I have two complete opposite stories, and I would be an idiot to believe either side. Is my only choice to leave, believing the worst, or stay, believing the best? How do we overcome this break of trust and love? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Sorry, honey, but this relationship is a bit of a train wreck, but doesn't really seem remorseful or even take any accountability. Just like with the baby unaliving. The second one in 3 months. If he and you were accountable after the first one, a second one wouldn't be needed. If he was accountable and dependable to you, he would have been with you the night of the party. But he wasn't. Of course, he's not remorseful or accountable about hitting on the friend's sister. This is a pattern he lives by. Do what he wants for himself, when he wants, and who cares about others? Wake up. This relationship is not a good one to be in. Comment 2. What love? He doesn't love you. He literally left you alone to undergo a stressful and dangerous medical procedure while watching your tears and going, nah, I have a party I can't miss and you're being a real downer about it. You dump him. Edit. I stand by it's dangerous. You could end up dead through complications, and I'm not willing to shield that from people to make it more palatable. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 3 days since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you. Remember how I was dealing with the aftermath of my second baby unaliving and my boyfriend's shady behavior at his best friend's birthday party? Well, things have escalated, and not in a good way. First off, let me give you a bit of history about my boyfriend and me. We've been together for a little over 2 years now. He's always been the life of the party, charming and sociable, which is what drew me to him in the first place. But he's also had a history of being a bit too flirty, which has caused issues in our relationship before. I've always tried to trust him, but after the recent accusations, it's been tough. Now back to the present. After my last post, I was feeling pretty heartbroken. Not only was I dealing with the physical pain of the baby unaliving, but also the emotional turmoil of my boyfriend's actions. I had hoped he would show some remorse or at least try to understand where I was coming from. Instead, he brushed off the whole situation, insisting he did nothing wrong. The next day, I was scrolling through social media when I saw pictures from the party. There he was, my boyfriend, looking a little too cozy with the sister of his best friend's girlfriend. My heart sank. It was like a punch to the gut, seeing those photos and knowing he was there having a good time while I was at home in agony. I confronted him about the pictures, and he got defensive. He claimed they were just talking, and that the camera angle made it look worse than it was. But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. We argued back and forth, and he finally admitted that he might have been a bit too friendly, but swore nothing happened. I was torn. Part of me wanted to believe him, but the other part was screaming that I couldn't ignore the red flags. It didn't help that his friends were now texting him, taking his side and saying I was overreacting. It felt like it was me against the world. Then, the sister finally replied to my message. She was apologetic and said she didn't want to cause any trouble, but confirmed that my boyfriend had been hitting on her. She even sent me screenshots of texts he had sent her after the party, asking if she got home safe and suggesting they should hang out sometime. I was devastated. It was one thing to hear accusations, but to see the proof in black and white was another. I confronted him again, this time with the evidence. He had no choice but to come clean. He admitted that he had been flirting with her and that he was sorry. But sorry wasn't enough. Not this time. The trust was broken and I didn't know if it could ever be repaired. We had a long, tearful conversation where he tried to explain himself, saying he felt trapped by our situation and the pressure from his friends. He said he made a mistake and begged for forgiveness. I didn't know what to do. I loved him, but I also knew I deserved better than this. The pain of the betrayal was too fresh and I couldn't see past it. We decided to take a break, to give each other some space to think things through. So here I am, 3 days later, still trying to process everything. I'm heartbroken, not just because of what he did, but because of the realization that the person I loved could hurt me so deeply. I'm trying to focus on healing, both physically and emotionally, but it's hard. I've been leaning on my friends and family for support, and they've been amazing. They remind me that I'm strong and that I'll get through this, no matter what I decide to do about my relationship. But right now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. As for my boyfriend, he's been trying to reach out, sending texts and leaving voicemails, apologizing and saying he wants to make things right. But I'm not ready to talk to him yet. I need to figure out what's best for me before I can even think about us. Met a woman on a trip. Dated for a year until I found out. She cheated with her ex in Denver and lied about being pregnant. So I blocked her but then rushed to hospital after her accident. Title correction. Now ex-girlfriend. We met in California. I was on a business trip and she was visiting for fun. She is Mexican and lives in Mexico. Her dad owns a very large and successful business, and she is well off. We have been together almost a year. I have flown to Mexico to see her, but she's mostly flown to the USA to visit me. She has been the best girlfriend I have ever had, always insisting on cooking for me, loving me, being very sweet and romantic, and drop-dead gorgeous in every way. She even offered to send me her live location and all her passwords. I never asked but took it as a sign of the purity of her heart, that she has nothing to hide. Our values also align as she wants a big family, and so do I. So I pursued this relationship with her seriously. Her only relationship before me was for 10 years, which I also took as a green flag. More stability than several short relationships. This ex now lives in Denver. Important for later. They had been broken up for 1 year when I met her. Things had been going great until 1 month ago. I heard rumors about her seeing her ex several times within the last month, spending 3 hours in his car alone at night sleeping with him, and going out for meals together. I decided to immediately call her and talk to her about it. After lying to my face and denying all of it, she finally admitted she saw him and spent hours in his car alone. But she insisted that nothing physical happened. I told her if she ever lies to me again, I will leave her, and I decided to trust her again. Then, things were great and back to normal. But 4 days ago, she told me she was going out of town for work for the weekend, and she wouldn't be able to talk much. She said she was on her way to the airport to pick someone up. Then she hung up and stopped answering my calls. I saw her location as she arrived at the airport, and which airplane was arriving at that time. Denver. So obviously she is with her ex and still won't answer my calls. I continue to watch the location as she arrives at a restaurant. I try calling her again several times, but she declines them all immediately and then stops sharing her location. Now I am freaking out, thinking, what the hell? Where did all this come from? The next day, she sends me a photo of a waiting room. I am at a work appointment. However, there's a logo on the floor, and I find out it is for a gynecologist. Now I am even more angry and confused about what she could possibly be hiding from me. That night, I decide to log in to her menstrual cycle app, one of the passwords she gave me, and find that she logged having unprotected intimacy with her ex 4 times in the past couple of months, all without me. One of them was the day after she was with me, and another was the night she picked him up from the airport. What's the cherry on top? She is 10 days late for her period. I will let you piece together the rest. She does not know that I know she cheated, and that she is pregnant. I am angry, I want answers, and I want her to feel lower than pond scum for what she did to me. I have not been a perfect boyfriend, but I have worked my butt off to improve every aspect of myself for her. I have treated her with nothing but love and respect. I have been given various advice from loved ones, but I want to ask you all, any advice on how to approach this? Update: I blocked her on everything without explanation. I will never let her see me again. Edit: guys, hindsight is 20/20. I realize I was way too trusting, naive, and foolish with her. I decided to try and trust her again because I also made bad mistakes with her in the past, and I am a forgiving man to a degree. I also knew that I needed to end things with her completely after this. I was just wondering the best way, e.g., block her without explanation, call her out on everything, etc. So many ways to go about it. Thank you all for your time. This is my first Reddit post. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Tell her parents. They will be furious for her misbehaving. Catholic parents are especially bad in that category. Then enjoy not having to be stuck with a cheater who gets raw-dogged by her childhood sweetheart, and get yourself a girl that is loyal and will cherish you as you deserve. Comment 2. Sometimes you can give someone the world, but they have their own priorities. You want advice? Quit calling her your girlfriend. She should now be your ex. Just hurting yourself by sticking around. You gave her a chance, and she had no intention of being faithful, and this will continue. Now for the update. Title: Now Ex-Girlfriend. Betrayal and Heartbreak. The Unfolding Drama. Hey Reddit, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm still reeling from the events of the past few days. I thought I'd share the latest developments in the saga with my now ex-girlfriend. When I last updated you, I had just discovered the devastating truth about my girlfriend's infidelity and possible pregnancy with her ex. I was crushed, angry, and confused. I had blocked her on everything, determined to cut her out of my life for good. But the story didn't end there. 2 days ago, I received a call from a mutual friend who had no idea we had broken up. She was in shock, telling me that my ex had been in a terrible accident. My heart sank. Despite everything, I couldn't help but worry about her. I found out she was in the hospital with minor injuries. But what really got it to me was that she was asking for me. I was torn. Part of me wanted to rush to her side, but the other part remembered the betrayal. I decided to stay away, but the situation ate at me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on work. The image of her in a hospital bed, alone and possibly carrying another man's child, haunted me. The next day, I got another call. This time, it was from her father. He had always been kind to me, treating me like family whenever I visited Mexico. He pleaded with me to come to the hospital, saying that his daughter needed me. He didn't know about the cheating, the lies, or the pregnancy. I felt a pang of sympathy for him. He was an honorable man who had no part in his daughter's deceit. I finally caved and went to the hospital. When I saw her, my heart dropped. She was pale, her eyes red from crying. She tried to speak, but I stopped her. I needed to say my piece first. I confronted her about everything, The cheating, the lies, the gynecologist visit, and the logged unprotected intimacy. Her face crumbled as I spoke, tears streaming down her cheeks. She admitted to everything, her voice barely a whisper. She told me that she had been feeling lost, that her ex had been manipulating her, preying on her insecurities. She said she never stopped loving me, but she was scared of how serious our relationship was getting. She was afraid of the commitment, of the future we had planned. It was a weak excuse, and it made my blood boil. But then she dropped a bombshell. She wasn't pregnant. The visit to the gynecologist was because she had been feeling unwell, and she feared the worst. But the tests came back negative. She had lied about being at a work appointment because she was too ashamed to tell me the truth. I didn't know what to feel. Relief washed over me, followed by a fresh wave of anger. She had put me through hell for nothing. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw the girl I had fallen in love with. But she was also the girl who had betrayed me in the worst way possible. I told her it was over for good. There was no going back from this. She sobbed, begging me to forgive her, but I was done. I walked out of that hospital room with a heavy heart, knowing that this was the end of our story. Her father caught up with me in the hallway. He had overheard everything. I expected anger, maybe even a confrontation. But instead, he hugged me. He apologized for his daughter's actions, telling me that he had no idea what she had been doing. He thanked me for being a good man to her and wished me well. It was a small comfort, but it meant a lot coming from him. I left the hospital feeling a mix of emotions. Betrayed, relieved, sad, and somehow a little bit lighter. I had loved her, truly and deeply. But that chapter of my life was closed now. I'm still processing everything that's happened. It's going to take time to heal from this, to trust someone again. But I'm hopeful for the future. I learned a lot from this relationship about love, trust, and when to walk away. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.